Welcome to your weekly tarot and astrology forecast for the week of December 21st through the 28th. And what a giant week this is. Monumental, epic. The energetic shift is beyond anything that we will perhaps ever consciously embrace in our lifetime. Again, before we get into these energies, I do think it's very important for me to clarify that does not on any level imply that there is some kind of physical transformation that will be taking place in any of us. Perhaps there will be. I cannot predict how these things will manifest, but what I can tell you is that this is an opening into a brand new era of energies with the grand conjunction that will be taking place on Monday, the 21st, sometime in the early hours of the morning here on the western coast of the United States. So adjust accordingly for you. Saturn went into Aquarius yesterday, Thursday. I'm recording this Friday evening. And tomorrow, Jupiter moves into Aquarius. Now, Pluto and Mars from the 21st to the 23rd will be squaring. It's the third square of Mars square Pluto of the year. And the third is always where we receive the enlightenment. And in this case, it really is about Pluto being the planet of endings, death, and ultimately rebirth. In conjunction with Mars direct in fiery Aries, this is about an embodiment of self-belief, unlike anything that many of us empathic souls have perhaps never had the opportunity to experience in this lifetime. And it's the beginning of this shift. Let's not forget that this is a process, as with everything, the cycle of the zodiac, the cycle of the tarot, from the Fool to the World. At its greatest challenging point, the energy of any particular transit that is significant can be very difficult to experience because it is unfamiliar. But when it's also the third as of a recurrence, this can be monumentally difficult on our bodies and on our minds, where we are failing to be in alignment, and so essentially the energetic shifts are to push us over the finishing line, hopefully with less of a puttering sound than that little vehicle going by. For me, the conjunction between Saturn and Jupiter when it was still in Capricorn around Wednesday of this past week was probably the pinnacle of the worst of what this energy was all about, which was fear-based energy, shifting as these planets and their conjunctions shift into Aquarius, that is understanding that the fear and entrapment of authority contracts had to be eradicated from our psyche, from our spiritual understanding, in order for us to move into this new age, this new Aquarian age, this new age of air, in which innovation, the unexpected, the immeasurable will come to fruition and will color the experiences that we have. Anyway, on a personal note, before we get into cards, actually, before I get into the personal, well, I have another astrological thing to talk about, but first I will emphasize that, as you can see, progress has been made in my own wellness. It was not a very pleasant experience to have to go through. The pestilence of our time, well, excuse me. God. For whatever it represents, I don't really even wish to characterize it, but it was daunting, and it continues to create a certain amount of exhaustion in my life. It's hard to exert myself at certain times, and so I am being patient with myself, but that's not my finest quality. So I have these little moments where those pangs of fear still push through, where it's like, if I feel unwell or I feel low energy, I can catastrophize that and suddenly be like, what the fuck is going on with me? I'm a fit, energetic, healthy, vibrant, middle-aged person. But I can't regain my stamina. And I've always been like that with sickness. I hate sickness. And again, sickness forces us to understand that we're not in control all the time of our bodies. And I won't say anything more on that, but I'm just glad that I'm much more presentable this week than I was last week. And in addition to that, that you probably can actually see me a little bit better, and you have a little bit of a different background, as I am recording this in another part of where I live. There's no one else around right now, so it's easier for me to record without having to take into consideration other people's comings and goings. So, the other astrological element I wanted to talk about is Neptune squaring the nodes of the moon. That has not... Well, Neptune's aspects with the nodes has not been particularly fun, as you know. But we are coming to what I would say is a purging point of that Neptunian energy. I don't know about you guys, but I've been struggling a lot with my belief system. You know, a lot of the things that I've adhered to this year, whether that be about conspiratorial perspectives on health, the government, corporations, or the idea of what this awakening and ascension is. And for me, what triggers the hell out of me is the conflation of politics and spirituality. In fact, somebody that I admire very much and have learned a great deal from consistently causes this problematic inner dialogue in me, because honestly, I don't think that the astrology of our time has anything to do with the United States of America and its stupid fucking government, or any other government for that matter. Politics are not, you know, it's not a spiritual game. It's actually devoid of spirituality, and it's the complete opposite of everything that we're experiencing energetically. So that has been, for me, what I perceive that nodal Neptunian shift to be. It's about, again, coming into this individuation process of understanding what the truth of spirituality is for each of us. And that is an individual journey before we move into collectively moving closer to our tribes, our soul tribes, if that ever happens, because frankly, it's really hard to gauge how that will ever happen, because there's so much reticence for people to come together, and it has nothing to do with social distancing, in all honesty, and everything to do with I guess people just being so caught up in their own lives that they aren't willing to take that leap of faith. And this next period that we're moving into, post-conjunction, is all about taking a leap of faith. And of course, I don't mean that literally on the 21st of December you're going to have to take a leap of faith, but the energies that are coming our way in 2021, they're going to require some leaps of faith. So, and beautiful leaps of faith if you're willing to look at them that way, right? So let's see how that plays out in the cards, because we're going to focus on this week, right? I have to get used to, I turned my camera around, so I am looking over there now, so it's very confusing to me sometimes. Okay. What shall we start with? I know I lied to you guys and I told you that I wasn't going to pull any cards from the Wisdom of the Oracle deck anymore, or for a period of time, but they insisted that I do, and I know why, because the card that came from the Wisdom of the Oracle deck is Serendipity. And number 18, I'm recording this on the 18th, so a little serendipity there for you. And that was at the 1414 mark, if you like to get into numerology. What needs to be said about serendipity? Not much, other than the fact that serendipity takes place all the time in life. It's just that most of us have blinders on and we don't choose to see it because we are so materialistic and so driven by the mundane materialism of our lives and self-fulfillment that a lot of the time we fail to see serendipity, because serendipity only really exists in conjunction with other energies. So let's set the tone then for this week ahead, because apparently we need to be a little bit more aware of those serendipities, right? So be open. Our spirit animal oracle of the week is was a bit of a mixed bag of messages between serendipity, this one, and the Sacred Destiny oracle cards, but we'll put them together with our tarot, I'm sure. So what do we have here? Seahorse, spirit, watch and wait, number 53. So there you have an 8 there again. And what does spirit, seahorse spirit, wish to tell us? Hovering gracefully, the seahorse observes with the perspective of one who is not engulfed by the drama, remaining at a distance from all the turbulence. Seahorse spirit appears at this time to remind you of the need to be neutral and gain perspective. Your message from Seahorse spirit is, not my circus, not my monkeys. Spirit wants you to know that even if you are tempted to jump into the fray and try to fix things, the best way to serve yourself and others right now is to remain calm and simply watch and see. Another message here is that whatever your query, Seahorse spirit asks you to step back from it. Be willing to explore things from different angles rather than a single one, and just observe what is possible. From the perspective of the position of the neutral observer, you will discover a myriad of opportunities and a deeper understanding of what you seek and why, and you will know beauty, truth, love, and wisdom. I'm not going to read the protection message because I feel like that really speaks for itself, and I do think that a lot of it is about, serendipity means that we have to be open, and serendipity ties in pretty nicely with Seahorse Spirit's message, because the idea is that if you're open to receive, then the floodgates can open of their own accord, right? Whereas if you're trying to direct traffic, you're going to have a pretty predictable outcome. And then we got 2 Sacred Destiny cards. They flew out. So what are they? Truth and going forward. So I will read both of those to you. Truth first. Truth shall rule. Some of you may understand what that means, but... Truth, the song of the wind. Actually, I'll show you the card, because they are beautiful. Wind is in the realm of the air elements. See, Aquarius. One of the 4 elements of life. Air, water, fire, and earth. Air takes form in the oxygen we breathe, as well as in breezes and zephyrs. It also represents our communication skills. When we speak, it is the air that passes through our mouths that allows us to speak and communicate. Wind is also prana, the source of life. As you communicate your truth to yourself and others, you'll find new energy and vitality emerging within your life. Be honest with yourself and listen from your heart. Find your truth. Listen for what is sincere and honest in others. One of the most difficult things to know is what's true for you and what isn't. Sometimes it takes sincere silence to find your inner voice of truth. But once you find it, let go of anything in your life that isn't authentic. Share your truth with others. Release relationships in which you can't be yourself and can't be real. Being genuine can allow your spirit to fly and the song of your soul to be heard in the universe. Ain't that the truth? And that is so potent for this time. I know this from my own personal experience, and it has to be somewhat universal, and that is, it's not because I want to hurt anybody else, but there are relationships in my life that have to, will ultimately be removed, but they have to start by not being given space in my life. Because a lot of people in my life, I don't have that many people in my life here. That's kind of a sad reality of the transformation that I've gone through, which ultimately took place during a long period of time where I was away from Los Angeles. The person I am now is very different from who I was before. And most of that journey has been very internal, so I haven't really externalized a lot of my process with other people in my environment. And the people that were in my life before have really very little interest in it. They don't have any interest in my authority on the journey that I have been on. And I have felt very frustrated by that, obviously, but I have continued to give enormous amounts of space to these people. It's a constant negotiation, and it's generally a compromise of my values that has become unbearable, impossible even. And when we're in poverty consciousness, we hold on to what we have for fear of not being able to get something better. And this is the time, with this shift of eras, and particularly as a result of all of the energies that we've already talked about in the earlier part of this video, it is a time to release what is not authentic and what is not true. So thank you to the Oracle card for that message. And going forward would seem like the logical next step, right? There's our path. Grassy hills. Grasses are one of the most abundant families of plants on Earth. From the earliest days of human history, grasses have played an important role in life. We eat grasses. Oat, barley, and wheat are kinds of grass. We have thatched our roofs with it, fed our animals with it, walked on it, had picnics on it, and made love on it. I have not made love on grass. In fact, that's how you get bitten by ants. I'm just telling you. Its matrix of roots prevents erosion, and its lush, rapid growth produces volumes of oxygen. Grasses are one of the world's most significant food sources. Grass in past times has symbolized growth, productiveness, prosperity, new ideas, and fulfillment. The sacred landscape wants you to know that when you receive this card, fertility, productivity, love, health, abundance, and fulfillment are ahead for you. Things are growing and expanding in your life. Keep going forward. I guess after you've watched and waited. Let's gain perspective here. Sometimes it may be easy to be distracted by what's occurring around you, but this card indicates that it's important not to let anything hold you back from increasing the bounty in your life. Step up and know that your needs will be taken care of. Your life is escalating and intensifying in the best possible way and for your highest good. Amen. I will add that, again, that does tie in with Seahorse Spirit. It's not a contradiction because Seahorse Spirit told us not to be distracted. And we have to be open to the serendipity. So tie that all in together, and I would say that makes for a pretty magical, energetic flow to come. And it is only enhanced by our underlying message of this week's Celtic Cross, which is judgment. Judgment is resurrection, rebirth. That's the angel Gabriel. Very timely for Christians among us. And it's all about divine intervention and trusting the process of the universe. As you can see, I have a little bit of a pagan vibe going on over here with a Christmas wreath around a cow's head or something. That's not mine, but it's interesting, right? Ow. The wreath, actually, I provided, but anyway. I'm sitting on a bench, and it's not exactly comfortable because I did a very intense workout yesterday and today, and my lower half is not very comfortable for a wooden bench as my support system for this video. I'm not really sure about this weird line going across me here from the light, but I will deal with it. It must have some significance. Okay, I didn't clarify any of the cards in the reading because I'll do that directly with you guys, but I have of course pulled cards, so here we go. The basic spread at the center of our reading. We have, we have the Knight of Cups. That represents the crux of the issue at hand, which is really about forward movement on receiving. Of course, it is the season for giving and receiving, but it is also, and may I add that, you know, I've really betrayed myself here, because let's actually focus on the real celebration at hand. The solstice on Monday, I can't believe that I didn't even remember to wish you guys a happy winter solstice as you will be watching this. And that little light there seems to want to shine through just to remind me of that. So, because at the end of the day, all of the energies center around that. The shortest day of the year, for us in the Northern Hemisphere. And I hate to be exclusionary of any viewers in the Southern Hemisphere, and you know who you are, because you have the opposites on that level. Even your water like goes down the drain in the opposite direction. But there are very few people that live in the Southern Hemisphere compared to the Northern Hemisphere, and certainly in terms of who watches my videos, I think. So anyway, sorry for being prejudiced, but it's the shortest day of the year, because that fits my story, and what it is the transition to the days after that becoming longer each day, and as we gain light, that means that we let more light into our lives, right? So that will be very nice to do. What was I on about? Oh yeah, the Knight of Cups, about receiving. And it's about our heart chakra. It's about receiving, you know, which is the midpoint of our chakras. So it's balance, you know, most importantly. Now, what crosses us is the Seven of Pentacles. And this is really where we've been, you know. It's like this contemplative, in alignment with our oracle cards, understanding what doesn't serve us anymore. Observing our lives and understanding what isn't truth, what isn't authentic, what doesn't serve our higher self. And the process to figuring that out in our past, what we're coming out of, is the Ten of Wands, which of course makes perfect sense. This is the card of ultimate burden. This is a difficult energy because it's the completion of a cycle of ideas being interpreted and integrated into our life, and perhaps, being too weary as a result of the journey of this cycle to actually see the magic in and the growth, on these ideas and experiences, and instead focusing on getting to the finish line and not enjoying that ride. And that's coming to an end too, with this cycle ending and the new Aquarian era. That's a lot of what it is too, is like us giving ourselves permission to be present in our lives and not to be focused on where we need to get to. Because as that materialism unravels, and it will, we have to prepare for that, because it's going to be disruptive in our lives over the next few years. It really is going to be a test on so many levels of the lessons that we have learned. In fact, it's already starting. You may be hearing about the beginning of this cyber world war that's very much underway already. We can't be in that collective energy of authoritarianism standing in the way of our spiritual freedom. So that means that we have to stop being distracted by it, right? And part of the Ten of Wands energy is the burden of carrying that age of information, that need to be informed all the time, that need to feel as though somehow you have less value if you're not obsessed with information that ultimately doesn't serve us, because we can't actually do anything with any of it other than cultivate fear and loathing and discomfort and disharmony. Our underlying energy is the Six of Cups, and I think actually this was a future energy last week, so it makes sense that the Six of Cups would be our underlying energy now. That's the process that we've gone through in the last week. As we talked about, we had to come into that process of self-parenting, of becoming a fully adult experiential vessel. I put it that way because I want to make it very clear that when I say adult, set aside your prescribed notions, standards of what adulthood is. I'm not talking about a legal adulthood or a moral adulthood. I'm talking about facing adversity with strength and courage and the certainty and certitude that we are enough within ourselves, that we don't need anything outside of ourselves. We don't need other people or other things in order to carry ourselves forward. And very serendipitously along with our oracle cards and the judgment card. What do we get in our immediate future? The Fool. The very beginning of a new chapter in our lives, a new karmic cycle, unhindered by the past. There is no past for the Fool. And so we've done our work. We've dropped the 10 of Wands. We've worked through the 6 of Cups. And now we are fresh and fancy free and ready to take a leap of faith. Our crowning energy for the week ahead is the Page of Wands, which fits very nicely with the seahorse spirit and serendipity, because the Page of Wands is an inspired learner. He understands that he is at the beginning of a journey, and he is not afraid, and he's not, this is not a beginner fraught with fear of failure. This is a person who entirely trusts his journey and the tools that he carries, and his inspired energy, and his his fire energy, because there you have those lizards on his coat. It's and his penis in his hand there, you can see, just in case you don't ever notice that in these cards. That's a penis, and he looks like he's about to rub one out. I know, I'm so vulgar, but sex is natural. I'm not quoting George Michael there, but sexuality is a part of who we are, and that's another part of this. It's about embracing that side of ourselves. It doesn't matter whether you're 20 or 70 or 80 or 90 or whatever, has your energy, your sexual energy, the expression of that part of yourself that's playful, flirtatious, engaged in the joyfulness of possibility. Is that person alive in there? If not, you need to wake them up, And that doesn't mean so that you can go out and bunk, It means that you need to feel that running through your veins. You need to understand that electricity is what you run on. It is fundamentally who you are. You are not flawed or perverse for pursuing a sexual identity throughout your entire life. Again, it is not about sexual conquest. This is not about amassing sexual experiences with other people. It's about respecting that energetic flow within yourself. And if you're not, then you're blocking fundamental parts of who you are, and the Aquarian age is not going to allow for that. So I guess if you're a guy, you'll just be like an endless boners, and if you're a girl, you're probably gonna start orgasming when you're driving your car or something, because that energy is coming through really strong right now. I don't feel it, actually. That would be really embarrassing if I was actually feeling that right now. And look, now I've turned into a little boy because it's embarrassing, 'cause you just tried to see sex face on me, and that's disgusting. So no, that's not happening. But the energy that I'm embodying right now is essentially what that Page of Wands is. That's the way that the cards always work with me. Spirit plays tricks on me all the time to get me to embody the energy of the cards. Anyway, maybe we'll clarify, I don't know. Unfortunately, in our present, as we present ourselves in our flow with environment, of course, this is where the blockage comes from. We talked about this. The Four of Pentacles. Now, this person is not in flow with anything, and they are so terrified of losing what they have. Again, comes back to the oracle messages, right? That they're not in flow. They can't allow this flow. So we have to work on this really quickly, and we will definitely take a clarifier on this one. But we need to move beyond this fear of letting go of what we already have in order to make room. You remember when I was talking about like having people in my life that don't, contribute to my journey, my phallus-directed excitement, narcissists, they are everywhere. And I will save you the pain of having to watch me get all riled up about these people. There's one person in my life who is, a major catalyst of this energy. And this person rejected me sexually. And they've been my friend for a long time. But they are just so self-absorbed. It's like, and even worse, this person usurps my identity and usurps my spirituality and speaks in authoritarian terms on things that I am an authority on, actually adopts my words and my stances and my demeanor a lot of the time. And one could argue that this person is probably actually in love with me and probably always has been, but is just grotesquely narcissistic and therefore would never be able to actually embrace that in any way whatsoever. But I have allowed myself to sink into poverty consciousness on every level as a result of the relationship with this one person. And it's like, I feel terrible for saying that I need to eliminate this relationship from my life, but because it's a long-term relationship. But if they can't see me and embrace me for who I am and actually make me feel good about myself, then they should not be in my life. No one should be in your life if they're not making you feel 100% seen for who you are and who you want to be seen for. That's not acceptable in this new era. So we are here and we are going to be forced out of this. I mean, it may not be the same circumstances in your life, so you're going to have to do a little bit of soul searching to figure out where that is, that miserly holding on, not recognizing the possibilities, not being open to the serendipity and the flow and the sexual energy within you, the charge, And who have you been giving permission to hold authority over you with these matters? That was not a very well-constructed sentence, but forgive me. I'll blame it on COVID brain because that was a real thing. In fact, it still is. Today I went to the grocery store, and it's the first time I've left my home in 2 weeks. And oh my god, I was exhausted, exhausted from it. And well, now I'm just getting into the mundane, but then I had to change my toilet handle broke, and so I ordered like a replacement part, and I had not checked that it was the right part, and it was completely wrong, and none of it made any sense, and so I ended up smashing it to bits and like having a complete rage attack. And my brain just wouldn't function. It was horrible. It's like I literally got frustrated. It was the reason I had the rage attack was because I got so frustrated over how exhausted I was just doing simple things. So hopefully that will lessen with it every day. It seems like it is, but it was a real thing. So I really am using that as an excuse for poor grammar. Okay. In our environment, we have the Knight of Swords. So this is actually how we are going to be interacting with our environment. That's how I'm reading it. And nobody fucks with the Knight of Swords. The Knight of Swords is a swift-moving truth slayer. He carries his Ace of Swords. And everything around him adapts to his swiftness. He outmaneuvers everything and everyone. So when we finally let go of this, which is happening this week, beware world, because, you could be a smooth Knight of Swords. You don't have to be a rough and tumble Knight of Swords, right? But it's all about knowing your truth, your philosophy, your values, and going out there with it, and just maybe slaying some of those people or things that keep you in this energy. Not maybe, definitely. And again, you don't necessarily have to do it physically. You can just turn the volume down on things that don't resonate. And just to double up on that message, our psychology card is the Ace of Swords. So that is the Ace of Swords that knight is carrying. And maybe this is why we got this thing, because it's meant to show the illumination, This is Archangel Michael, the King of Swords, would be carrying this, but the divine, Anyway, I digress. But it's like this week is when we've come into the full understanding of what all of this work has been about, so that we can finally live our lives in truth and authenticity and authority, and understanding that anything that falls by the wayside, anything that doesn't fit, we've made our efforts to fit in. We've done everything that we can to integrate, assimilate, in order to fit other people and other cultural belief systems that don't actually have the value that ours do. We get to celebrate this now. We get to be in the fullness and the wholeness of us, because we've done so much work. This is our time. We get to shine. Sorry, I sound like I'm writing a really bad We Are the World remake, but but why not, And guess what comes in our outcome as a result of all of this energy? This is our outcome, the Ace of Pentacles. The Ace of Pentacles is the tangible, material manifestation of this, and not having this anymore, and being in this energy, not having any of this anymore, being the Fool. The Ace of Pentacles ties in with the Knight of Cups at the center. So, what starts is the swift energy of our hearts opening. And then all of the spiritual work that we have been doing then manifests in these aces, the Ace of Swords, as we just described, and the Ace of Pentacles, the material reward, the manifestation of our efforts in the physical world. Okay. I'm just going to take clarifiers on... What would you like me to take clarifiers on? I mean, a lot of this was pretty self-explanatory, I think. And you're probably all like letting out a giant sigh of relief because you're like, oh God, it's 50 minutes in. It's like, oh. Well, okay, this jumped out and landed on the Four of Pentacles. And it couldn't be more straightforward, letting go. But because it's from the Osho deck, and I always like to indulge in a little bit of Zen philosophy, let's read what the Eight of Cups is in the Osho deck. 112, okay. Wait. 112. Okay. Look at the card instead of me. In this image of lotus leaves in the early morning, we can see in the rippling of the water that one drop has just fallen. It is the precious moment and one that is full of poignancy. In surrendering to gravity and slipping off the leaf, the drop loses its previous identity, and joins the vastness of the water below. We can imagine that it must have trembled before it fell, just on the edge between the known and the unknowable. To choose this card is a recognition that something is finished, something is completing, whatever it is, a job, a relationship, a home you have loved, anything that might be helpful. No, that's not right. Anything that might have helped you to define who you are. It is a time to let go of it, allowing any sadness, but not trying to hold on. Something greater is awaiting you. New dimensions are there to be discovered. You are past the point of no return now, and gravity is doing its work. Go with it. It represents liberation. So we're open to that serendipity, and we're letting go of that Four of Pentacles and those people and things that have been keeping us not where we want to be. Bye. In existence, there is nobody who is superior and nobody who is inferior. The blade of grass and the great star are absolutely equal. But man wants to be higher than others. He wants to conquer nature, hence he has to fight continuously. All complexity arises out of this fight. The innocent person is one who has renounced fighting, who is no longer interested in being higher, who is no longer interested in performing, in proving that he is someone special, who has become like a rose flower or like a dewdrop on the lotus leaf, who has become part of this infinity, who has melted, merged, and become one with the ocean and is just a wave, who has no idea of the I. The disappearance of the I is innocence. And isn't that beautifully true? When you think back to childhood, innocence isn't what makes it magical and beautiful and innocent, that you're in wonderment of everything around you. You're open to receive everything. You trust everything. You're not focused on the ego. One more for that outcome, because I really would like a clarifier on the Ace of Pentacles, and then I think we'll call it Christmas Quits. Ace of Pentacles. Oh, no, that's not for me. I need a clarifier on the Ace of Pentacles, please. Spirit, can you... Oh, okay. It's the same card that I refused to take before because I didn't understand why the fuck this would be our clarifier, and it is isolation. And maybe it has something to do with putting a spin on the fact that so many of us this year may be alone for the holidays, or certainly pared down, right? So I guess, Spirit, you will get your wish, and I will read isolation for everyone. I really didn't want it, because it's like the Three of Swords, but look, we're getting something out of the Three of Swords in this case, isolation. 122, okay. Okay. In our society, men in particular have been taught not to cry, to put a brave face on things when they get hurt, and not show that they are in pain. But women can fall into this trap too, and all of us at one time or another might feel that the only way to survive is to close off our feelings and emotions so we can't be hurt again. It's what we're letting go of here. This is the gift that we get in the Ace of Pentacles, is letting go of this harshness. If our pain is particularly deep, we might even try to hide it from ourselves. This can make us frozen, rigid, because deep down we know that one small break in the ice will free the hurt to start circulating through us again. The rainbow-colored tears of this person's face, I guess I should show you that card again, just so that you can see the rainbow-colored tears. The rainbow-colored tears of this person's face hold the key to breaking out of this isolation. The tears, and only the tears, have the power to melt the ice. It's okay to cry, and there is no reason to feel ashamed of your tears. Crying helps us to let go of pain, allows us to be gentle with ourselves, and finally help us to heal. We are miserable because we are too much in the self. What does it mean when I say we are too much in the self? And what exactly happens when we are too much in the self? Either you can be in existence or you can be in the self. Both are not possible together. To be in the self means to be apart, to be separate. To be in the self means to become an island. To be in the self means to draw a boundary line around you. To be in the self means to make a distinction between this I am and this I am not. The definition, the boundary between I and not I, is what the self is. The self isolates, and it makes you frozen. You are no longer flowing. If you are flowing, the self cannot exist. Hence, people have become almost like ice cubes. They don't have any warmth. They don't have any love. Love is warmth, and they are afraid of love. If warmth comes to them, they will start melting, and the boundaries will disappear. In love, the boundaries disappear. In joy, also, the boundaries disappear, because joy is not cold. So, well, that was a nice reminder of the Christ consciousness Christmas spirit. It also, unfortunately, means that I have to quote another Madonna lyric for you. In fact, if you'd like, I'll sing it for you, even though I'm very nasal right now from COVID. But it reminds me of the opening of the delightful song Frozen. You only see what your eyes want to see. How can life be what you want it to be? You're frozen when your heart's not open. So, let's not. And I won't sing a Christmas carol for you, although I would love to. I just don't think that any of you probably really want to hear that. Plus, I can never think of one that is appropriate, because they're really depressing. But when I was, okay, well, I'll do this because Okay, so when I was a child, I played Father Christmas or Santa Claus in a school production, and I sang a song called "Do You Believe in Santa Claus?" And I was Santa Claus, and it requires a choir because it's a repartee. But I will do it for you because in the spirit of Christmas, I should be ridiculous and get into that page of one's energy, although this will not be sexy whatsoever. So here we go. Do you believe in Santa Claus? And then you're supposed to go, yes, yes, we do. Do you believe in Santa Claus? Yes, yes, we do. Does he have a reindeer? Do you know his name? Yes, he has a reindeer. Red-nosed Rudolph is his name. And when will Santa visit you? On Christmas Eve. When will you hang your stockings up? On Christmas Eve. There's nothing Santa Claus can't do to make our Christmas dreams come true. So do you believe in Santa Claus? And then you're supposed to go, yes, 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 we do. That was from me to you, and you can be laughing all you want, but I did it from my heart. I love you. I wish you a wonderful holiday, and I will see you in a week. In the meantime, be all that you can be. Be open. Serendipity awaits. Namaste.